Good afternoon, everybody. This is the forecast discussion for January 30th, 2014. It's currently 2 p.m., and we are in the middle of a heat wave. We have broken the teens, and we are in the mid to upper 20s. It feels like a heat wave. Okay, all right. I know it's well below normal still, but at least we're not 5 degrees out, which is thankful because I'm tired of all of this really Arctic cold air. We have to send it back up to where it belongs, which is the North Pole, to save all the polar bears and whatnot. So we're warming up, we're moderating, and we're improving. Clear skies today. Winds are starting to shift to the southwest. That's a key point here because that's going to transport even more warm air from the Tennessee River Valley and the Gulf Coast right up into the northern mid Atlantic. And ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow we will break freezing in a big way. We'll get into the 40s, and that, of course, means everything's going to start to melt, and everyone's going to feel like as if it's in the 90s because it's just going to feel so amazingly warm. So, definitely some good news for the end of this coming week, for this week where we have some warmer conditions just in time for the Super Bowl. I'm sure everyone in the NFL office is very happy. So let's dive into this forecast here. As you know, we're warming up. By tonight, we'll fall right back into the mid to upper teens, but not as bad, and we'll have a southwesterly wind around 5 to 15 miles per hour, but at least we'll be transporting warm air. Our radar is clear as can be. Here's our next clipper that's going to move through on Sunday. Don't worry, no heavy precipitation, just some rain and snow showers. The good news here is that the way that the 500 millibar pattern is setting up, this low pressure system will develop over the Ohio River Valley and lift up into the St. Lawrence River Valley, leading to warm conditions in the afternoon on Sunday. Then the cold front moves through Sunday afternoon, and then we dry out Sunday evening with temperatures falling through the 30s, but really not all that bad. We really dodged a bullet here. I'm going to show you why we dodged a bullet on the radar, and should I say the satellite. This is the infrared satellite picture. You can see here's our low pressure system. This is what's going to lift up into the St. Lawrence River Valley by this weekend. In the meantime, this high pressure system will shift off the coast. That's going to transport warm air. By tomorrow, we'll have highs in the upper 30s to lower 40s. Saturday, highs in the lower to mid 40s. 30 degrees warmer than what we've been dealing with. And Sunday, if this cold front stalls a little bit, we could actually touch 50 degrees in some locations, specifically right along the coast. I think in the interior, where we have a nice little snowpack here, quite frankly, I think 50s is a bit much. I know that some of the GFS model guides are showing that. More like the lower to mid 40s. You have to take into account the low clouds, fog, whatnot. So I think, given the history of this air mass, I think we need to temper our expectations a bit, but it'll definitely be warm. They're compared to what we've been dealing with. Absolutely very warm. Now, when we take a look at the water vapor satellite picture, here's why this low pressure system is going to track to the west of us. You see this polar vortex here? Well, it's kind of repositioning. The whole pattern's kind of changing and shifting. And you can tell that because we're finally getting our subtropical jet stream into the game. So, with that happening and with our polar vortex shifting a little bit further west, it's going to pull this storm up towards the Great Lakes. Now, this is not a trend, it's more like a reload. Okay, we've dealt with the Arctic air, pattern's reloading, it's shifting to one that's more stormy in nature. And yes, you could also infer snowy as well as we move into the start of February. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I've been warning my premium members for about 3 months now, and I'm warning you publicly. February is going to be a month you will remember because it is going to be one that is going to be incredibly active. I'm not going to get any sleep this February. There's no way. I'm going to be so busy with these storms and trying to figure out who's getting snow, who's getting ice, who's getting rain. I'm just not going to sleep. I'm just going to boycott sleeping. I'm going to have a huge pot of coffee sitting right here. My dog Max, he's going to look at me like I'm insane because I haven't slept in a month. And it's going to be that crazy. So let's strap in and rock out. So we can see how this pattern is developing here. We have a trough around the Aleutians, a ridge building over Alaska. That ridge sets up a northwesterly flow. So here, like this disturbance right here, sends Arctic air down into the United States. But this time with this pattern, the Arctic air is focused over the plains and over the Great Lakes. You could keep it. Meanwhile, the northern mid-Atlantic and much of the East Coast is going to be what I call the bow zone. That's going to be a separation between the Arctic air and the very nice tropical air that you see in Florida, which is why everyone moves down to Florida in the first place, where it's 70s and 80s. So we're going to be setting up with that boundary right along the East Coast. Disturbances move in from the subtropical jet stream. Disturbances dive south from the polar jet stream. They interact and they create a lot of mischief. So that's pretty much what we're looking for heading into this coming week. So up through this weekend, very nice. The NFL office really lucked out here because up through Sunday, it's going to be tranquil, it's going to be comfortable, no real major concerns. Deal with a few rain showers on Sunday, and then we clear out. Then it gets very interesting. Let's take a look at the model guidance. So today we're going to be using the Canadian model guidance. Now, a little bit of disclaimer for those of you who are new with models. Models do not control the weather. They are not a crystal ball. It's a tool. It's a tool you use to try to figure out exactly how the weather pattern is going to work out. Models have all sorts of different physical equations that you work out with, and you see which one kind of makes the most sense. Okay? For example, if they have a disturbance, let's say like this little red one right here, trying to drive into the polar vortex, which would be this right here, that'd be wrong because it violates the law of conservation of mass. Okay? So taking these ideas and understanding how models work and what equations go into it allows you to pick which models you kind of want to follow and kind of use as an illustration of what your thoughts are. They do not. A good meteorologist never says, well, I'm going to go with this model because it's the most accurate. Okay, well, it's the most accurate on average, but is it this time? So what you want to have is a good physical understanding and of the atmosphere and take that understanding and knowing where we are now, where we're moving forward, and basically take that data and combine a forecast using the model guidance as a guide, not as a crystal ball, but as a guide. And we're going to use the Canadian model guidance because I think it makes the most physical sense. It matches up with the European model guidance and the ensemble model guidance very well. So moving forward, I think that it's a good solution to take into consideration. So we're going to move forward. We know this weekend's going to be warm. Here comes the polar vortex dropping south. See how it lifts up this storm up towards the St. Lawrence River Valley. As a result, we're nice and warm. It's a comfortable weekend. Temperatures in the 40s. The cold front moves through Sunday afternoon. Completely dry for Super Bowl. Don't worry, it's going to be wonderful out. Certainly very comfortable compared to what it could have been. Then things get very interesting for Monday. I'm going to tell you why I've been warning about this. We have an Arctic cold front move through. We have temperatures falling. Cold air in place. I think the GFS is too warm here. The GFS MOS guidance having temperatures in the upper 30s to low 40s. I'm thinking more of lower to mid 30s considering the air mass that's building up in Canada. Again, this is how you use model guidance and observations and combine them and work things out. Now, what's concerning here is that we know we have a very active subtropical jet stream. It's become, you can see it on the water vapor. It's plain as day. So when I start seeing disturbances starting to get picked up in the model guidance, it's a warning. It's very similar to the storm that we had just a few days ago where, like they got about 7 inches of snow. So when I'm looking at Monday, I'm looking at a situation where we have a stalled boundary. We have plenty of moisture coming into the western United States and over the southern tier. That moisture rides right up that Arctic boundary. And what you end up with is a nice little surprise snow event, especially from New York City on south through, let's say, Baltimore. Now, this isn't like a blizzard, but it's a light to moderate snowfall. Why is this important? Because it sets up the whole boundary heading into the other storm. So basically look at it like this. If you have snow, fresh snowpack, laid in with an Arctic high pressure system building, let's say, Maine by, let's say, Tuesday, fresh Arctic air, fresh snowpack, means it's harder to erode that cold air. So when you look at the weather pattern moving forward, you take that into consideration. So if this does pan out here in this solution, which is very similar to the European mild guidance, so let's say you get a 1 to 4 inch type snowfall with temperatures in the mid 30s, looking at a 10 to 1 ratio, that's why we're not going to go insane here right now, then that sets you up for the next storm coming up on Tuesday night into Wednesday. Now this storm is going to start off lifting up into the Ohio River Valley, makes sense, starts to interact with the polar jet stream. Again, this is a subtropical disturbance here that starts to interact with the polar jet stream. Now, it cannot lift up into the St. Lawrence River Valley because we have this huge polar vortex sitting up here in Quebec. So it has to redevelop towards the coast. So the questions we have to figure out between Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, when does it start to redevelop? How much cold air is locked in? Because what you have here is strong warm air advection. So everyone starts off at snow. There's definitely going to be a changeover to sleet, freezing rain, and rain. The question is, with that low-level cold air, and we've played this game before, remember back in December? So you have Arctic high-pressure system locked in here. You have a fresh snowpack in place. You have warm air trying to rat out that cold air. The immediate coast probably would change over to rain pretty easily. Climatologically speaking, that's usually what happens. But just away from the coast, that cold air is probably going to put up a heck of a fight on early Wednesday morning. So there could be a bit of a sleet and freeze rain mess from New York City on south through Philadelphia and including central New Jersey. Meanwhile, northern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania stays all snow and a nice little heavy snowfall at that. So you can see what happens here. This low pressure eventually does jump to the coast, and we got plenty of time here between this storm developing and figuring out exactly what's going to happen. The question really comes down to is how strong is this Arctic air mass, and as a result, how long does it take for this low pressure system to jump to the coast, become the primary low pressure system with an enhanced thermal gradient in place, allowing that cold air to return very rapidly, leading to a colder solution than what we're seeing here. So I have no doubt about that the coast will see a mix out of this. The question really comes down to whether you're going to see snow quickly changing over to rain, or if that initial system on Monday lays down the groundwork and the support to keep that cold air locked in a little bit longer, leading to more of an icy mess on Wednesday morning before we finally give way to some warm air, and then that cold air rushes right back in, ending as some snowfall at the very end of this storm. Then we clear out on Thursday. Nice, comfortable. All right, it's cold. Temperatures in the 20s. We could deal with that. Then our next storm for the next weekend, say around 8th, 9th. This disturbance, watch out for this one. We have the high latitude blocking. We have the Arctic disturbance diving south. This disturbance means trouble. And it could produce a significant, I mean very significant, snowfall for the northern mid-Atlantic moving forward. Based on everything I'm seeing right now, it looks pretty impressive. So that is your forecast discussion for today. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Follow the latest weather information at nynjpaweather.com and nynjpaweather on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn. Have a wonderful day, and as always, stay safe out there.